All right, let's get it started. We've got some controversy, some big controversy right here. Did Usher steal the Weeknd's flow? Usher. I wasn't expecting to see any type of beef between The Weeknd and Usher. That's actually interesting. Now, I do have right here The Breakfast Club. I'm not even sure if they're actually trying to sensationalize it, but they put Bro Stole My Flow, how The Weeknd feels about Usher's Climax. And I do have pretty much receipts right here. So we're going to get into this and I'm going to give you my thoughts. Listen, you know I'm a big fan of The Weeknd, so you might actually be expecting for me to be on The Weeknd's side when it comes to this controversy right here. But you probably haven't seen my cover of Climax that I did, because it's in a very, very old YouTube channel. It's actually my first YouTube channel. So I might be on Usher's side, but you won't know if you don't actually watch this video. Of course, we're going to get right into it. Now, listen, I want to get into this because I feel like, given the short answer, the track they're talking about, let's first actually see what they say right here. Because it says, Usher shades The Weeknd after Canadian singer claimed the R&B legend stole his style on Climax. I heard Climax, that Usher song, and was like, holy fuck, that's a Weeknd song. The Weeknd said. Okay, so is that true or not? They basically even started to do a Climax challenge where Usher apparently does show himself singing that falsetto range. Because if you haven't heard the track Climax, it's a very, very good track with high vocal ranges, a crazy falsetto from Usher throughout the track when it comes to the chorus. So it's a very good song. That's why I actually did a piano cover to it, because I enjoy that song a lot. I'm going to put right there the picture of the piano cover. That's basically my first ever YouTube channel, so it's crazy to think about that. But now going back over here, he says this, right? And people basically take this out of context. They try to make it seem like The Weeknd is trying to like diss Usher, right? So Usher actually responds over here doing the falsetto challenge, the Climax challenge right there. And they pretty much try to actually throw some shade to The Weeknd, like, now we all waiting for you. So that happens, right? But I want to get to something, because Diplo actually says the production on Climax lends itself to House of Balloons. If you've heard me, I've said this whole time, the Weeknd sound when it comes to 2011 House of Balloons, Echoes of Silence, Thursday, Trilogy, that trilogy era is what has influenced in a big, big way this entire sound of R&B throughout the last decade. You could be a Weeknd fan, you could be a fan of any other artist that you're like a bigger fan of them compared to The Weeknd. But let's be honest, this sound right here has definitely been heavily influenced because of the sound that Echoes of Silence, House of Balloons, and Thursday had on Trilogy. So, get into that. Diplo actually clears it up and says, yes, this was actually lending itself to the House of Balloons era. When I heard those early records, they blew my mind. They blew my mind. They actually still blow my mind is what I'm trying to say. Soulful in the silences and spacey, iconic voice that felt uniquely intimate. The idea of R&B having dark edges, which is what I say when it comes to that sound, it has that dark type of vibe, was what I wanted to bring to Usher. So he clears it up. Now, do I actually agree with this track, Climax? No, I actually don't agree, in the sense of this is the specific sound that House of Balloons had. Because I definitely feel like Diplo actually tried to maneuver and give some different type of style that might fit Usher a bit better. And that's actually the case, because I remember when I first listened to that track, I thought to myself, what type of genre is this? And I remember when I looked it up, it was a Quiet Storm track. And that type of R&B is a very, not as the classic type of R&B, it's much more of an R&B which has much more space. It's much more silent, if you want to say it like that, minimal when it comes to the instrumental. It focuses on that type of iconic voice that has that spacey sound, like Diplo says right here. But that's not really the type of sound that The Weeknd has specifically, like Climax in the production on tracks like House of Balloons. Because if we go right here, I remember like it was yesterday looking for this. You can even see right here, it still says the song is a quiet storm slow jam with electronic influences. That's what Diplo tried to actually bring to the track. So that's the song Climax, right? And if you look at Quiet Storm is that type of contemporary R&B performed in a smooth, romantic jazz influenced style. Of course, when it comes to this more modern type of sound for Quiet Storm, Diplo did add those electronic influences. So that's that. But even though I say no, I can definitely say that album this track is definitely, without a doubt, bro. Without a doubt, it's an influence it has heavy influences of the Weeknd sound at that point in time. Because looking for myself, I remember listening to this project. Easily, you want to actually listen to a track, my guy, that has that type of sound. I Care For You. Automatically. That sounds like something that the Weeknd, even when it comes to those warped type of sounds it has, just try to actually listen to EXO the host on Echoes of Silence throughout the end when he's actually doing that. Damn. Bro, I just thought about that track. That's one of my favorite tracks. That's crazy. I just love that track a lot. But the warped type of sounds it has, the warped type of sounds that it has right through the end, listen to it. I Care For You. It basically has those same type of sounds. So even though it's not the case with Climax, like I feel like it's not the type of sound that the Weeknd has, I definitely feel like there's a lot of tracks here that have that influence. And you can say when it comes to the voice, Usher wasn't doing these type of things in the same sense how he did it with Climax. So of course he was influenced to that quote unquote alternative sound, because at this point in time, let's be honest, it's been over a decade when it comes to the sound. It's basically the norm. It's not even the alternative to R&B at this point. R&B, the classic sound, is now classic R&B. This is the contemporary R&B sound, which people back then actually used to call it PBR&B. Used to call it alternative R&B. I don't really even feel like calling it that at this point. It's basically the norm when it comes to the sound for this genre. So I Care For You is a perfect example, but I understand what the Weeknd actually says when it comes to this over here. When he says, I heard Climax, that Usher song, and I was like, holy fuck, that's a Weeknd song. I understand in the sense that if you listen to previous tracks from Usher, of course, there's actually that alternative sound at that point in time, which wasn't still the norm. And Usher was actually trying to grab that influence and try to actually make it work for him alongside with Diplo. Because of course, listen, Diplo is a different type of production compared to what Usher usually does. So he's actually going to try to find a way to still use R&B, but add these electronic influences. And him listening, he basically says it. He admits it right here. He says, listening to actually House of Balloons, that era right there, the records blew my mind. The soulful in the silences, spacey, iconic voice, felt uniquely intimate. At that point in time, I remember when I thought the Weeknd was never going to actually be a very high celebrity, like at the top status. And I was like always rooting for him, like, damn, is he actually going to get to be famous? I mean, does he have the quote unquote looks? Like at that point in time, people would still pay more attention to poppier sounds. But against all odds to me, honestly, I felt like I was surprised when I saw the Weeknd actually. You remember that Ariana Grande track? That's the way he actually ended up getting some fame in the sense of being a bigger name. Like, that's kind of crazy to think about it, to be honest, because that Ariana Grande track, I never ever listened to it. And now that I think about it, it's crazy that that's actually what helped him out. But I still feel like regardless, Usher is a great, great artist. I don't really, the Weeknd even says it right here, like he's not really trying to do any type of diss or anything. He's like, of course, media blows things out of proportion and takes things out of context. Usher is a king and always an inspiration, so it was flattering to hear what him and Diplo did on Climax. XO till we overdose. So let me know down below in the comment sections, but I'd say that specific track, no, it's not specifically the same type of sound from House of Balloons, of course, because Diplo tried to do something a bit different that actually caters more to Usher. But if you want to listen to something that really does sound like it could be on Echoes of Silence, House of Balloons, listen to I Care For You. Definitely, the production definitely sounds like it's about to be something that the Weeknd could definitely get into and sing easily. And I love that track a lot because I stay listening to it multiple times. But to me, that's definitely the genre Quiet Storm. I don't really feel like there's a lot of Quiet Storm tracks from The Weeknd in that same type of sense. Maybe you could say like High for This, but at the same time, not yet. You could actually say High for This because High for This has those very high tones, and it's very spacey. But you let me know down below in the comments section because I wouldn't say specifically Climax is the example, but I can understand when you think about Usher's previous tracks and then you listen to something like that, you're like, okay, hold up. Given the time frame, I see where you're trying to actually go. You're trying to go for this alternative sound that's starting to pop right now and actually getting big audience, getting a bigger audience and a bigger recognition. So that's going to be it for this video. It was interesting to see The Weeknd actually having to clear it up when it comes to what he had to say about Usher. Usher actually doing the falsetto right here. Damn, I remember listening to this a lot, to this project. Looking for myself. Yeah, I remember listening to this a lot. Subscribe for some other videos. Let me know down below in the comment section your thoughts. Do you agree? This is definitely a point in time in which Usher actually stole The Weeknd's flow. But in the track Climax, or do you feel like there's definitely some other tracks that are more recognizable when it comes to that argument? Because I feel like it's I Care For You instead of Climax. That definitely relates to what The Weeknd said. But regardless, Climax is still a big difference from what Usher was doing previously. So subscribe for some other videos. Let me know down below in the comment section. That's going to be it. Usher, nothing against you. I mean, listen, I was doing piano covers to your tracks way back. Like crazy way back because I remember like I didn't even have a beard at that point in time, so that's pretty funny. But either way, that's gonna be it, bro. I'm out. Take care.